afternoon. Thanks by coming to this session. My name is Jorge Maia. I'm a senior IoT consultant at Crazy Tech Labs. We're a company from Brazil. We are doing some IoT projects and smart buildings environment in Brazil and in other countries also. Feel free to connect with me on Twitter at Jorge Maia and at the jm at crazytechlabs.com.br. We will talk today about two of our cases and how we increase that and what's the challenges on that. First of all, when we talk about smart buildings, some people will say, oh, it's only connect things or it's only automate things, and we see it day by day. And we have tons of equipment, tons of hardware devices and protocols and a lot of good stuff that is inside these buildings, and most of them is already automated. So we already have too much technology on that, and the main goal here is become it more intelligent, become it more, it's not only smart, but it's more cognitive, understand some situations and take some actions on that. When we talk about heating and ventilation, air conditioning, in Brazil we have a particularity about the air conditioning because we don't have in some buildings central air conditioning like this. We have it's in a separate rooms and we have to take control of them. When we have this kind of guys, most of them have controllers and old controllers on that, and we have to translate protocols and get some information and acting on this. By the way, this is one of the biggest consumer inside a building when we talk about electricity management and consuming. When we talk about this kind of measurements like electricity, water, the utilities, we are talking about some measures that we have to handle these numbers inside the building. And when we talk about smart buildings and consuming management of this, we are talking most of them using the edge on IoT Edge or something, processing on the edge the information and take some actions on the edge, not only acquiring that and send it to the cloud. Access control is another subject that matters a lot, and we are now doing some integration using the software that comes with these guys over here, using cameras, using cognitive services all together to detect if the people that is passing through this is the real person that we expect to be. So sometimes they get a badge and use this, and we detect on the camera that the face is not for the guy or from the woman on the badge. So this is another thing that we have to integrate to become a smart building. Internal transportation is another subject that consumes a lot of electricity on the building, and we have elevators, we have stairs, and this can be a problem if we don't manage it, if we don't take control of that. The utilization is the thing that we are looking for some new ways to detect. Detect the utilization, detect the meeting rooms, common spaces, restrooms. Restrooms, for example, we are doing a case in Brazil in 15 buildings that we are measuring how many people is getting in and getting out from the restrooms to take advantage of this number to the facility managers and say, oh, we have to clean this restroom and not the another one. So we can decrease the costs of the people from the housekeeping on the restrooms, and we can increase the UX. I like to say the UX of the building to the guys that are using. On average, this is a number that I saw in many places. On average, people spend 80% of their lives inside buildings, office buildings, school, hospitals, and because that, I believe we are talking more today about the buildings become cognitive or become more smart and the experience of the users become better. Yeah. Okay, this is a problem. The UX is a problem. So we have the first case that we have is the Engimon IT. Engimon IT is an engineering company in Brazil, also an IT company. They are a big group over there, and we connected the control, connect and control the main floor of the building of them, and the main goal here is just to detect what's happening inside it. So the challenge is acquire access control, HVAC, electrical information, and we are using over there cameras with AI to detect with which tables are being used on time. So the first phase expected results on there is the integration of meeting rooms with Teams. We are doing this right now using cameras and detecting from badges when the people get in the meeting room and sending alerts to another participants of the meeting. Control the air conditioner and ventilation and temperature based on room occupancy. We are using some movement detectors and cameras to detect how many people is inside the room, and then decreasing the ventilation or increase the temperature or decrease the temperature. Decrease the waste and electricity consumption based on room occupancy also. We have some rooms and some meeting rooms that are connected and that we know when the people are using and turning off the lights, turning off the air conditioning, turning off the ventilation, and advising the people to there is a free space, there is a free meeting room on the floor. And this is one of the cases that we are using the sensor on restrooms to help facility manager with the restroom cleaning. The second one that we are working on is a more difficult project because we are talking about the group Orion. Group Orion is an electrical engineering group that provides services to, I guess, more than 200 buildings in Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, and we are helping them to turn the buildings more intelligent. We have some small data centers inside the building. We have tons of rooms and people in the buildings, and the most problems over there is we are talking about government buildings. So we have a high security on there, and the data should be secured before I send it to the cloud, and we have some good talks about there. Communication problems is another problem that we handle there. Underground buildings, integration with Azure Edge solutions, pre-owned. They have some new technology inside the buildings, and we have to connect it using the IoT Edge and do translating the protocols like Modbus, BACnet, and another ones. Multiple environments is another subject because we are talking about an engineering company that sells services to a whole of clients on the city. So I have to provide them the main idea of you can use and you can replicate that project in another client. So we are using all stack of Microsoft and a stack of IoT Microsoft on that to guarantee that the engineers of the group Orion can use the same project in another environment, in another client of them. This was a challenge for us because when we talk in node environments, the people already have solutions. So they have Delta controls, they have their own solutions on software, they integrate with the SAP and another softwares. So when we get in, we said, oh, we have the first phase, that is, let's acquire everything from the IoT idea and perspective. So let's take what do you have from measurement on the floors, what do you have on the control from Delta for another one, Honeywell, what do you have? Oh, we have this measurement, so let's take all together, and then we provide some information. They have an SLA to respond some incidents on there, so we had to create an UX on the edge to response and to create alarms. Instead, they have connection or not. So we are using a lot of Azure functions, modules, and IoT Edge on this guy over here. This is a picture of one of the buildings, and here we are using the augmented reality to some buildings of them. So they have measurements using augmented reality into facility managers from Schneider Electric. This is one of the older systems that they have over there, the other systems, sorry. Here we have a multimeter connected to Modbus, and this is one of the architectures that we are using over there. Instead, using another ones, we are using tons of Azure functions and connecting to legacy systems, connecting to new APIs, and using this to handle the information that comes from IoT Hub. This is a view from the cloud perspective, and on the edge, we are using IoT Edge for most of the systems. When we can't use IoT Edge, we have one building that we are not using IoT Edge, we are using .NET Core in a Linux server and providing a worker role to just do the acquiring of the sensors by a serial or something and send it to the cloud directly. And on most of the cases on there, we are using IoT Edge and doing the deploy remotely and all good stuff. This is a graphic from Power BI that we have from one of the buildings on the photovoltaic generation system. Here we have the medium voltage of the generation. We have here some ideas of solar irradiation, temperature of the panel, and the environment temperature. If the environment temperature grows up, the irradiation solar goes down, and we can measure it, or sometimes we can clean the panels. And this was one of the smaller graphics and intelligence that we provide on that they told us about a decrease of time to clean, for example, the panels using this dashboard on the service room. If we have good temperature, we are not too high, and we are not generating the electricity that we want, so we have to clean the panels. And this was a small portion of the solution that we are doing over there. Here is another consumption graphics for one of the buildings. This is the CNC. Is a building with good technology on that, but we have an IoT Edge running on this guy and sending the consumption to the internet, generating alarms internally. And this is another consumption, electricity. And our next big step, I don't know who is already using here in this audience. We are start using the Azure Digital Twins on most of these buildings. I say starting using because we are planning and put this on the infrastructure, planning costs and development and training the people. We started this in last July. We are now with 5 buildings running Azure Digital Twins on these 2 clients. And the main idea here is to aggregate and query the information on a middleware, using and decreasing, of course, the costs of development that we have today. Today we have some time series database providing data, and we have to query that and send to the normal architecture to a data warehouse and all kind of this. And now we are trying to use this Azure Digital Twins to provide a near real-time information to the facility managers. So which is the temperature on the room, which meeting room has people inside it, it's already scheduled or not, they just walk in or not, and how many people I have here, how many people are passing through the the private places on the building. So this was what I have here to talk. I will be here, and we will have another session over beside this one. So feel free to contact me. I can explain some more if you want in detail. We have some codes to show, and if you want, I will be here on Ignite for the rest of the week. Feel free to contact me. Thank you very much by coming and stopping by. Please evaluate this session